Forget about Bone Spear. Everything else got buffed. Blood Surge X40, Sever 75. Hell, even Blood Wave got a damage boost. New patch notes are cooking. And it's not only damage boost, they're increasing the utility of the skills even more and in general of the Necro. Let's deep dive and see what this means for the Necro. First, Blood Surge. They're trying to make it work better against bosses. Damage bonus per enemy drained reduced from 10 to 5%. That sounds bad at first. What Blood Surge did is with draining enemies around you to multiply its damage, which is great and sucks versus bosses. Now the Nova damage is just simply increased by 40%. If you could already do a 5 million, a 10 million overpower with Blood Surge, that is just times 40%. Just like that versus a boss. Because usually if you drain a boss, you would get a 10% damage multiplier. Now you only get a 5% multiplier and just a base of 40% bonus on top of that, making it even stronger. That's not the only thing. You see the bloodbath aspect here, right? Blood Surge Nova echoes again after a short delay, dealing 50% less damage. Well, this one is getting changed to 30 to 10% less damage. So your 10 million Nova will essentially do another 10% less damage. Yeah, so not 10 and 5 million. It's more 10 and 9 million. Crazy. This change to Blood Surge paired together with a Blood Boil Vampiric Power and Metamorphosis could lead to this becoming the new #1, especially if we manage to merge this with the Corpse Explosion, Black River, super physical damage, Shamambo Bambo that we're doing on the Bone Spear as well. We'll experiment. Now the second big change is Sever. Sever is a weird skill because it wants to critical strike and shadow damage over time can't critical strike. What they did is outgoing damage increased by 6.5% and returning damage increased by 20%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but again, damage increase. Then Enhanced Sever is getting even more damage. And right now what it would do is Sever damages enemies along its path for 40% of its initial damage. So you throw, still does the damage there along the path, right? And then it turns and then it comes back. It's kind of like the triple stack of Sever damage. It gets higher from 40 to 75%. And each part of that Sever calculation can actually critical strike. Now they buffed the vulnerable duration of Sever as well. That one is completely useless because you're not going to be skilling into that. With this damage increase into Sever, and especially the triple stack of hitting in a row, there is a world it becomes a boss bully. On top, Blight is getting buffed wholesale. Everything about Blight is being buffed. Impact damage, damage over time, then the passives of Blight. In this case, the Paranormal Blight immobilizes even longer for 2 seconds. And this 15% damage boost to your damage, yep, that's 20% damage multiplier now. Out of the window, getting stronger. Now we're not at an end, ladies and gentlemen, because they just gave Corpse Explosion a 21% damage increase. Yeah, our highest Corpse Explosion so far been 25 million. If we had the Ring of Starless Skies, we'd go up to 30-40 million. And now I get a 21.5% damage increase on the... What? And not only that, the Plague Corpse Explosion. So not Blighted, not the Shadow Corpse Explosion, no, the Plagued one. That does 8% bonus damage for stunned, vulnerable, and slowed. Yeah, that does 10 now. That 10% stacks. So it's now, instead of 8 plus 8 plus 8, it's another 30% damage multiplier. Yeah, 6% in total more. Just like that. So 21.5% here, another 6% multiplicative there. All the builds we've been doing, just out of the house, getting better. The final two changes to skills, not so important. Bone Prison makes things inside Bone Prison vulnerable. Now it says for 8 seconds. So if you cast it, decast it, they'll stay vulnerable. That is nice for the prison, actually. And then Blood Wave is having 25% damage increase, which might even make it a contender to be used in a Blood Surge build versus bosses and such, because Bone Storm might not be that much needed anymore for the gauntlet. And that's where Blood Surge could come in to speed up the clearing tempo of destroying things. I mean, 25% damage out of the house seems mighty juicy. This gets followed by the passive changes we knew about, plus more. So Death Reach is now Death Approach, giving us 12% movement speed plus. And if you have Death Reach on your amulet or Death Approach, you get 24 in total. Spiked Armor gives us 5, 10, and 15% bonus armor, which is just so good. I mean, like just 15% additional armor on what we have. Juggernaut, Disobedience not needed anymore. Death Embrace does give you more damage reduction. That's quite nice. 369 seemed so low. Now it's 412. And Hellbound Commander gives you more damage. Now, there's another thing, and that's crazy. Crippling Darkness. It used to say Darkness skills have a chance to stun for 1 second. Now it still says Darkness skills have a chance to stun for 1, 2, or 3 seconds. So the same here. And deal 0.2 shadow damage to them. So your shadow damage or your Darkness skills and your shadow damage over time has just a chance to stun and do even more damage. So there's just free damage coming now to Shadow. Essentially just do more. In the Paragon board, the Cult Leader node is being buffed for even more damage on attack speed. Not going to make that big difference for minions. We just need more to actually make that work. And then the Corporal Glyph is giving us bonus movement speed now per active minion. That's good for a Ring of Men down build. Don't try to brainstorm of like how maybe I could increase my movement speed by 12% in a Bone Spear build. Not worth it. Not worth it. If you play a Ring of Men down build, you're essentially faster right now. No crazy constructs of like somehow trying to force minions into a build where they don't belong. That won't work. Interesting though, the aspect of Hardened Bones, which does a 20% damage reduction to our minions, now does a damage reduction to us too, as it should. So we're not getting punished for using minions anymore. No, we're now with this aspect having minions and supporting ourselves, which is quite the nice change, especially for pushing tier 100 dungeons. Now at the end dimension to minions, yes, they all do more damage and all have more life now. But in order to truly be extraordinary, there's so much more needing to be done for minions, Callan's Attic needing to be changed and other shenanigans. We are so far away from minions pure being super viable. Yes, it's better now. I already have a pure summoner that could clear a tier 100 dungeon. Now you can clear it a bit easier. Still, so much more needs to happen. What does this mean for our Necro now? The Black River Corpse Explosion Bone Spear build is now better than ever. We can go for full offense, more movement speed, less defense. All in all, vastly changed build. The same goes for the Bloodlands build that was also using Corpse Explosion, better than ever. Blood Search might be able to finally kill bosses now, way more efficient than ever, so Blood Search could be leading up to be the #1, even though Bone Spear might have more movement speed. Sever becomes a potential option that could do gazillions crazy of crits. No worries, before the patch hits on Tuesday, you will have a video with 3 builds in it for Sever, Blood Surge, Bone Spear, maybe even Blight and other shenanigans. So on patch day, you have exactly something to try out and dive into. If you now already want to see the new Bone Spear Gauntlet clearing Super Necro, that is vastly changed to what it was before. Maximum super movement speed, more offense, less defense, all just in squishing your opponents. Enjoy.